PHP comes with, which is basically kind of like a debug template. You can see the queries we make down here, things like that. So where to find this layout is in your app folder. We want to go to View and Layouts. Alright, so if you remember, we created the Jobs folder here, the Jobs view. Well, actually, it's a folder that will hold many views. We have our index, which we did in the last video. But if we go to Layouts and Default, this is actually where that layout is coming from. This is where the head goes, the HTML head. This is where you can include scripts and CSS, things like that. You can see we have a header, a content area, and a footer area where we can use variables like cake version, which will give us the latest version of cake. And then here we have our SQL dump for debugging. But basically we want to change this entire thing. Basically we just want to integrate our HTML template that we made a few videos back. So I would suggest that we keep this default, but just rename it. Okay, so I'm just going to rename it default underscore BAK. Alright, just so we have it in case we need it. And then we'll create a new file called default.ctp, and this will basically be the one that we use. If we go back here and reload, we get nothing because we have nothing in our layout. So what I want to do now is go back to our HTML template that we created. Okay, so it was JF underscore HTML, and I'm going to open up the index HTML page. And then I just want to kind of I want to take everything that's here, but the head area, the HTML head area, is going to be quite different. So for now, I'm gonna copy it all and paste it, and then clear out the head, and we can go through that step by step. Alright, so we'll go ahead and remove all this. Now we should, if we save this, we should see all this static content. Alright, so we can see we have all that, the static text, no CSS because we cleared out the head, because there's some special variables that we need to use. So in the head area, I'm actually going to open the original layout as well so we can see. Now we can use most of this. Alright, so I'm going to grab this here, copy it, and we can actually close out this index HTML file and paste that in here. And basically this is just giving us our character set. Alright, just a special way that we can use the HTML helper to do that. Here is our title. Now I don't want the cake description, so I'm going to get rid of that. Alright, and now we have this variable called title for layout, and this is going to allow us to set our title from within the controller. Alright, so we can have dynamic page titles. Alright, so if we go back into the original template, let's just get this block here. Alright, so first we have, we're using the HTML helper to get the favicon if we're using one. This is a call to the cake.generic CSS file. So this is how you can include CSS files using the HTML helper. So I'm actually going to change this. We don't need this cake generic. Alright, so let's get that out of there. And I want to load two style sheets that we have for our template. Well, we're going to actually load a lot of style sheets for our Kickstart framework, but these are all included in the kickstart.css. So we really only need to include Kickstart and our style, which is in the root. Alright, so in here we just want to put the name of the file, so it's going to be Kickstart. Alright, and I'm going to copy this, and we also want style. Now we're also going to want to include some JavaScript. Alright, so that we can also use this HTML helper. Okay, except instead of CSS, it's going to be script. Alright, and we want to include jQuery. And also the kickstart script. Alright, so the values I'm putting in here are the names of the files just without the extension. So this would include jQuery.js, kickstart.js, style.css, and kickstart.css. And now you're probably wondering where we put these files. Alright, so let's save this. And then down here, this is basically including the files we need. This fetch command right here is going to actually insert it into the head area. Alright, so you want to insert the meta tags, CSS, and scripts. Alright, so now I want to, this is our HTML template. I also want to open up our application. Alright, and the basically our public file that's going to hold CSS, JavaScript, and all that is in the app web root folder. Okay, so if you go to web root, we have our CSS, JavaScript, our images, things like that. So this is the only folder that's really accessible from the web, okay, from a browser. So let's go ahead and insert our files. In CSS, we want to actually, let's just take everything that's in this folder from our HTML template and just paste it in there. Alright, and then if we go to, actually we also want to include this style sheet. Kickstart puts the custom style sheet in the root directory as opposed to the CSS directory. Not sure why, but we're just going to grab that and put that with the rest of our CSS files. Alright, and then JavaScript, we want to move our kickstart over. And I also want to grab jQuery. Okay, so I'm going to just download jQuery. I'll take the compressed version. Okay, so I'm going to bring that over. And I'm just going to rename that to jQuery. Alright, and let's see, do we have anything else? We don't have any images, so that should be good. Alright, so let's go to our front end. And you can now see that it's including our CSS, and it should be including our JavaScript as well. Now, of course, this is all static content from our layout, so we need to make that dynamic. Alright, so let's go back to our default file. Our head area should be all set for now. So now we can move down to the body. Alright, so the first thing, we have our logo here, or our heading, and it's pointing to index.html, and we need to change that. Alright, so obviously we're going to want the title to go to the home page. Now, just like with CodeIgniter, we can use a special variable for our base URL. Alright, so in CodeIgniter we would echo, actually would be the function base URL, and that would give the root domain. With Cake, it's going to be this web root. Alright, so that's going to always give us our base URL. So you want to use this when you're including images or whatever. Alright, so let's save that and make sure that that works. So if we click on the title, it brings us to the home page. Alright, next we have this add job button, which is part of a form. So we want to add an action, and we can use our web root. so we'll say this web root, let's see, web root and jobs. We want to go to the jobs controller and then the add method. All right, and when you include web root here, it also takes care of the slash, so you don't need to put a slash here after web root. All right, next we have our menu. All right, so there's a few things we want to do here. We want to make it dynamic so that when we click on, let's say, browse jobs, we want it to be highlighted blue, and that comes from having the class of current. All right, so we want to put a couple conditions in here to check the web root. All right, if we look at the web root and it says login or something like that, actually it would be something like users login or authenticate login, actually I think it will be, and then it'll highlight that menu item. All right, so first let's take care of where these links actually go. All right, home is obviously going to go to the home page, so we want to say PHP, whoops, I want to say PHP echo this web root, and then it's just gonna actually that's all we need for the home page. All right, so let's copy this. Actually, wait a minute, we gotta get rid of that. Ahref equals that. All right, so that looks good. I'm just gonna copy this here, the web root, and browse jobs. Let's take care of that link. Paste that in. So this will go to the jobs controller, and then it's going to go to the browse method. Okay, register. Get rid of this. This is going to go, let's see, paste that. It's going to go to users, so the users controller, and then register. All right, and then this login is going to go to web root users login. Okay, so if we save that, these obviously they're not going to do anything, except you can see the URL up here change, because all this is static content down here. All right, so the URLs look good. Okay, next we want to add in our conditions for the current. Okay, so let me just get rid of that, and I'm just gonna paste this in. All right, so what we're doing here is we're gonna echo. This is actually a shorthand if statement. All right, so this here is a cake PHP, I guess, variable that will give us the current URL, or the current, not the whole URL, but the page, the controller slash method or whatever. So we're saying if it's job finds, which is just the root directory, or if it's job finds slash jobs, then we're going to have class current. Okay, we're going to echo class current, which is going to make the navigation highlighted. All right, and I think we actually have one too many greater than signs here. All right, so for the next one, let me paste this in. Okay, so now we're saying if it's job find slash jobs slash browse, then we're going to echo class is current, because this is the browse jobs link. All right. Next we have register. Okay, so if it's jobs, job find slash user slash register, and we have our login. Okay, so job find slash user slash login, and we'll save that. Go back. Okay, so now if we go to browse jobs, it highlights register login. All right. So the next thing we want, this search area right here is not going to be in our layout. It's what's called an element. All right, so we can add elements to pages, things like sidebars, maybe footer areas or whatever. Anywhere that's not the main area, you could use elements for. So what I'm going to do is grab the whole search area, which is this div, now to the div right after the form. So I'm going to grab all that, cut that out, and then go to inside of the view folder, go to elements, and I'm going to create a new file, and I'm going to call this search.ctp. Okay, we'll paste that in, save it, and right now if we save the default layout and reload, you can see that the search is gone. So what we need to do is just include that element into our template, and that's very easy to do. Okay, so we just want to say echo this fetch and then whatever the name of the element. So now if we save it, I actually think I used the wrong syntax. We don't want fetch here, we want element. There we go. Alright, so now you can see that it's loading the search element. Alright, so next we have the main content. Right now, obviously this is just static. What we want to do here is, I'm actually going to take everything in between this column div. Okay, so we want the UL. Yeah, we'll go up to the ending UL. Okay, and copy that, and then I'm going to go to our view, our jobs index view, and I'm going to leave that for now just so we know the syntax we need to get these posts from the database. Alright, but I just want to save this layout because we're going to actually just swap out the static content for the dynamic content. So save that, and then back in the default layout we just want to get rid of that, and then to display the main content we want to say PHP echo this fetch. I want to say this fetch content. Save that. Unexpected less than line 48. Oh, we didn't close the PHP block. Alright, so now you can see that it's loading the jobs index view. It has our dynamic titles and the static content, which we're going to swap out. Now, in addition to the content call right here, we want to include an area for messages, for error messages, success messages, whatever. Alright, so we can do that with echo, say echo this session. Okay, so we're going to use this session helper flash. Alright, very similar to CodeIgniter. And save that, and that should be good. And I'm going to stop here, and then in the next video we'll swap out this for our dynamic content, and we'll also add the